Hi, Geordie. How are you doing
Yeah,
today?
great, Gilbert. Thanks for asking.
Yes, thanks for joining us to this program. And you got a brand new company, Blue Jay Gold here. So maybe you can just start off by introducing, giving us a bit of an overview about this company.
Yeah, thanks for that opportunity. Blue Jay Gold Corp, it's brand new, just about to list in the next couple of days. And for us, it's an exciting opportunity that we've been building in the background over the last year and a half or so. Our main thesis is to pick up assets in brownfields areas in safe jurisdictions. And in this case, we're looking at Canada. So we're looking at Canadian gold, and our primary project, Steller Gold Project, is in the Yukon. It's getting up to almost 1 million ounces, grading about 8 grams. So it's really well positioned. And we like that because brownfields areas provides opportunity for infrastructure development. And you know what the adage is, most ounces are found around the head frames of existing production. So really like that sort of thesis, getting in out of the gate in a market that, we've seen a really good rotation in sentiment in terms of not only the equities, obviously, but the underlying commodity price as well.
Great. Let us talk a bit about, give us why attracted you in the first case to join this company to work on this project, because I knew you before. You're on the analyst side of the mining sector. Now you're running the public companies, now soon to be public companies too. So what's so special about this project that attracted your interest to you to become the leader and try to drive this ship?
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you, mate. Look, basically the thesis for us is, you know, be in areas where look, we can elevate exploration, where Mother Earth has actually already created mineralization historically that's been exploited. And that gives you a sense that you're in the right region where things are actually happening. And we think in Blue Jay and for Stella, they were in production in the 80s, produced high-grade gold, in a fragmented package. Yeah. Through time, they were able to sort of consolidate the package into a very large district play. And we love the proximity to infrastructure. This is a project that has, good resource, high grade, and it's an hour's drive from Whitehorse. So you drive to this project and it's very close. It's around about 40 minutes drive from the railhead, and the railhead goes directly to a deep sea port at Skagway. So we like the opportunity to not only have infrastructure access, which is great to operate in terms of moderating costs for exploration. You drive there, great access, gives you greater duration in terms of ability to be able to execute on the ground. And ultimately, when you blossom your project towards production, you've got the capacity to access not only port, rail, power, and people. So all of those facets go together to make your asset ultimately in a better position in the long run. So I really like the idea of coming in, seeing the project. And, I was an equity analyst for 17 years and saw projects across 6 continents. The last 10 years of that predominantly in precious metals, gold, from senior producers down to grassroots explorers.
Mm.
And you learn a lot of lessons. And for me, I don't need to stroke the ego to go out into the next new area and find the next big thing through grassroots exploration in greenfields areas. Saw a lot of opportunity to just come back into areas that have the infrastructure. You can apply modern techniques, integrate modern techniques, and discover more that wasn't actually discovered before. So great opportunity. And bringing that into play, we started looking at this project in 2024. And we bought it in end of September 2025. So it took us a bit of time to go through the process. And in that time, gold's gone up huge. Sentiment for the Yukon has done really well. And we're seeing lots of really good exploration. So all in all, we like the project, the grade. It's 170 square kilometer package of rocks covering end-to-end mineralization at surface. Now it's the time to get out there and grow the resource and find new targets.
Yeah, it's good time to be in gold and also in Yukon for sure. And let's talk a bit of some of your updates recently. As running a junior company, investors way, of course, the project is important. The also important factor, of course, is the team. So tell us a bit about your recent addition to the team, and overall, how does that team you think that be able to continue to advance this project?
Yeah, we've got a great board of directors, a good management team. You know, myself, I've been involved on the finance side for sell side, communicating, seeing assets and seeing what they can do through exploration. Our CFO, Rob Scott, he was also the CFO of Great Bear, and obviously there's a very good story, and Kinross is doing underground development on that right now. Freeman Smith, our VP of X, good on execution. In fact, on the ground not that long ago. So busy working on the ground, executing. Now, to the board, we had a whole composition change. We have Scott Hicks, who's the chair. Scott Hicks was basically part of the Lumina Group, very successful in actually building assets and transacting them for success. And they had that with more recently on Lumina Gold, Luminex. He was involved in strategic resource and consolidation of assets. And then John Mark Stout, very good in exploration, picking up projects, being able to pivot. And Colin Healy came on recently in terms of market awareness, good underlying core, running a directorship and running a company, having vision. So we like the composition of being able to execute on the ground, deliver message to market, but also be able to do the steps through to evolving a company through advanced exploration and development for ultimately, acquisition. So it's a very good team with awareness.
And also another important factor is, of course, is capital. The raising part as a junior company, they always need money. And you recently completed the financing about $14.7 million. So can you walk us through how these funds is going to help your exploration work in moving forward?
Yeah, it was a great raise, and that was led by Beacon Securities. Also, Cormark and Red Cloud were in that brokered syndicate, and that was a very good institutional placement. We opened at 1 o'clock in the afternoon during PDAC. It was oversubscribed and closed at 5 o'clock. Done, and so very well received. We welcome all the institutional investors that came into that, and we had a very good president's list book there as well. So that gives us a very good shareholder structure. For us, that's very important. And that's around about 33% institutional, 5% management directors, 50% high net worth individuals, long-term investors, mainly out of Europe, Switzerland, Germany, and a few others that I knew, obviously, from my brokerage history. So very good institutional base. But the last placement, which is important for exploration, not only fully funds this year's exploration, we just go well into next year as well. But it actually, it's the latest part of a sequence of targeted placements that built up to this moment. The first round into Blue Jay's seed round, Rick Rule came in with a bunch of select individuals and sort of kept on coming through. Then the Sprott Group out of California came into the round related to the asset acquisition. So very considered, the people who are coming in who can, support the industry, but also have the vision for what we're looking to do over the next several seasons.
So after this financing, what sort of the market valuation now you have to get coming out from your listing, that you sort of starting point of Blue Jay?
That's a great question. We're coming out around about 47 million shares outstanding. The last placement was about 80 cents. So you're looking at a pretty good sub 40 million Canadian. As an EV, that's around about 26 million enterprise value on a Canadian basis. Now that gives us, when I look at it, and when I was an analyst, you try and look at advanced explorers, pseudo sort of development stage companies, on an EV per ounce basis. And when we're looking at that, so that's enterprise per number of ounces that you have, we're looking at around about $20 US an ounce. When I look at peers out there that have high grade resources, in safe jurisdictions and historic assets and historic production similar to us, they're trading well above 100. They're 100, 150 at the moment. Probably the average is really around about 150. So we're in a really good position, and we were, conscious of not trying to push it too much on the valuation approach, because in the end, the market makes up the mind in terms of what value is. So we really like where we're positioned on a value per ounce basis. We really like ultimately the potential then to re-equilibrate to those companies that had the last year and a half to communicate their message on developing and future resource expansion and production ideals, over the last year and a half. We've been private. Now we've got that opportunity to communicate that to the market, and that is our plan.
And so looking ahead, what sort of catalyst or milestone news flow that investors should be looking for or following Blue Jay Gold as newly listed company?
Yeah, it's a great question. That is core. I mean, our underlying thesis is to, this exploration program is going to be around, drilling, and regional exploration to add more targets over time, but it's delivering, catalysts around resource expansion targets, testing new targets that have outcropping mineralization that have never been tested before. So we have a very clear plan of get out listing in a few days, starting drilling. The drill's already on site with one, and another one will come in 2 weeks. Start drilling almost immediately and just drill all the way through to October. Drill news around that, and a whole range of other marketing approaches to target investors, not only in Canada, the US, Asia, or Europe. What I liked about Blue Jay as an entity, it is one of those simple entities that is easy to digest. It's a commodity that people understand. You're in gold, precious metals. It's in a safe jurisdiction. Everyone loves safe jurisdiction. Canada, your rule of law and fiscal regime stability. This is an equity that opens the most doors for attention that people want to actually have a look at high-grade projects. So for me, I really love that opportunity to now be able to communicate that message to the broadest audience and then deliver results through resource growth and new discovery drilling. So it's very exciting to get out there, be the new player. People had great returns last year if you were involved in equities on anything with a resource, in production, new discovery potential. Now we think there's an opportunity to be able to come into that market and be someone who's going to come through and deliver new results on something that's little known.
Yes, definitely exciting times to be in a new listed gold company there. And really looking forward to following your news and your updates. Maybe have a chance to speak to you in a few months' time for some updates, Geordie.
Absolutely. Yeah, we should see drilling soon and updates, sequenced all the way through the year.
Great. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your time.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.